If you've been struggling with how to stay vibrant and resilient as you age, you're not alone. Many women in midlife struggle to balance self-care with the demands of daily life. In this video, I'll reveal some golden habits for healthy and happy aging that focus on building resilience. I'll also share simple self-care routines that have been proven effective. These habits are easy to implement and can transform how you age gracefully, naturally, helping you feel stronger, sharper, and more confident every day. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman, a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic aging so that you can cruise through midlife and beyond symptom-free, so that you can put an end to common midlife symptoms like chronic fatigue, insomnia, mood swings, issues with gut health, and even weight gain. Let's start by talking about the really most important thing that is going to help us preserve our health and mobility well into our advanced years. Now, this would, I think, be secondary to maintaining brain health, but the next most important thing that we really have more control over is physical activity. Regular exercise is, I would say, a cornerstone of healthy aging. You really want to make sure that you're improving your mobility, your balance, and when you focus on movement, it also improves your mood, and working on improving your balance really helps with cognitive function as well. So as you can see, you're supporting brain health and physical health at the same time when you're prioritizing exercise. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on movement because this is really going to help you reduce the risk of chronic disease. It also supports overall independence as you age, and that's what we all want. We all want to essentially do what's called aging in place. So the suggestion is that you engage in at least 30 minutes a day of moderate exercise. And so, 5-ish days a week, 30 minutes a day, and moderate exercise would be brisk walking, swimming, hiking. Remember that putting your entire allocation of exercise into one day isn't going to cut it. You want to make sure that you're at least moving 30 minutes a day, at least 4 days a week. 4 to 6 days a week is really perfect. You want to also make sure that you're incorporating muscle strengthening exercises at least a couple of times a week, because this will help you really maintain muscle mass and work with bone density. That's another issue that we tend to have problems with as we age. Another thing that's really important to incorporate is low impact activities like yoga. This really helps to improve your flexibility and your balance and reduce the risk of falls. If you really want to age in place, you've got to be able to get up and down off the floor easily yourself and not feel uncomfortable getting in and out of the bathtub or the shower. So these types of activities, yoga is one of the best ones. You're going to be up and down off the floor. You're going to really maintain that flexibility. And yoga is also fantastic, again, for improving cognitive function because of the meditative aspect of it. Extra benefits of yoga is the way that it recharges our internal battery. I like to say that the human body is essentially a rechargeable battery, and just putting your body under that sort of stress response with the stretching will activate your body's energy production. And so it's a great way, if you really don't enjoy more strenuous exercise, to get this movement box ticked off most days of the week. In this article from the National Institute on Aging, it really highlights key factors and some actionable steps for promoting healthy aging. They emphasize physical, mental, and cognitive health, just like I've been sharing with you here. And again, this article backs me up. It underscores the importance of regular exercise, but then also a balanced diet, quality sleep. We tend to find that sleep becomes more of a challenge as we age, and that's in part due to our natural decline in melatonin production. But we don't want to be supplementing with melatonin production. We want to keep our system tuned up and support our body's ability to sleep. If you're concerned about this, then I suggest you search my channel. I've got lots of videos on my channel related to insomnia and my suggestions for how to improve your body's ability to sleep naturally. The other thing that we're going to talk about as we move through this video here is the importance of social engagement and how really maintaining your social life is going to allow you to continue to age gracefully and naturally. Remember, this video is titled Happy Healthy Aging, and so we're going to talk about the happiness factor in a couple of minutes. They're suggesting here preventative health care, and I don't disagree with this, but you want to be really careful when you do seek out this kind of health care that you're not seeing doctors that are too quick to prescribe a medication rather than trying to help you get to the bottom, the root cause of what you've got going on. Because as you age, it's a slippery slope to start with a medication, and the next thing you know, you'll need another medication. And what you don't realize is that that next medication is really dealing with side effects from the first medication. And before you know it, I see people in their 60s, 70s, 80s that are on half a dozen medications. And that is a recipe for disaster as you age. As the article continues, it explores how managing stress, quitting smoking, that goes without saying, but also limiting alcohol consumption. So some of these things I talk about on a regular basis. Alcohol is one of the fierce five, and we'll talk more about that as we move through here. But we really want to make sure that, a bit of social drinking with your social life is not going to really hurt you. But if you're drinking at home and being kind of a hermit, that's probably not serving you well. It's really not helping you to stay mentally active, to sit in front of the TV drinking. So we want to make sure that we're practicing habits that really overall are contributing to this concept of happy, healthy aging. So just to put a bookend on this, remember that regular exercise is going to help you maintain muscle mass, also help you manage your weight, and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. And if you couple that with healthy eating patterns, like a really healthy diet, think Mediterranean diet that focuses on eating healthy, lean proteins and lots of vegetables, that's really going to go a long way to supporting your heart and brain health. So I talked a moment ago about staying socially connected, and this is going to really help you manage stress, and I'll tell you how that works. So as we have social connections, and honestly, the hack for this is to even love on your pets. So if you find that having social connections is a bit of a challenge for you, then you might really want to consider a pet if you don't already have one. Social connections produce oxytocin. This is one of the happy brain chemicals. But the interesting thing to note is that as oxytocin goes up, cortisol goes down, and cortisol is the stress hormone. And so we want to make sure that we're producing extra oxytocin, and this is going to help us manage stress long term. You can also turn to things like mindfulness or some enjoyable activities like listening to music can really help improve your mood. If you want to lean into dancing, dancing is a great way to get exercise and it's coupled with listening to music you probably enjoy, which will also improve overall aspects of this happy, healthy aging that we're focused on here. All of these things are going to really reduce the risk of depression and loneliness as you age. And loneliness is one of the things that will really make you age more quickly. So if you really want to maintain your cognitive health, you want to also spend some time focused in mentally stimulating activities. For me, I'm going to be spending some time in a Latin American country, and I'm challenging myself to learn some Spanish. Now that's really mentally stimulating. If that wasn't enough, I also really am always learning new things and new information that I bring to you guys, my wellness warriors. So you want to be learning new skills and really maintaining an overall healthy lifestyle. This lowers the risk of Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. So we talked a moment ago about adopting a balanced and nutrient-rich diet. This is really crucial for maintaining energy levels and preventing chronic diseases, and it supports your overall health as you age. So vegetables, fruits, whole grains, lean proteins, and most importantly, healthy fats. The healthy fats are really important because we tend to get our omega fatty acids out of balance because we eat too many unhealthy fats. So if you really need to help balance your overall healthy fats, then you may need to supplement with something that I refer to as a diet enhancement supplement. I personally use cod liver oil quite often. When you eat at restaurants, you know you're getting a disproportionate amount of unhealthy fats. So you've got to make sure that you're doing something to offset that. Really, if you look at your plate, you want it to look colorful. Foods with diverse nutrients meet your body's changing needs as you move into midlife and beyond. And then right next to that colorful plate, you want to make sure there's a nice glass of high quality water. If you're like me and you eat at restaurants a lot, then you're probably going to need to order some sort of bottled water. I recommend mineral water when you're eating out at a restaurant. It's a great way to improve your digestion because the bubbles in the mineral water really help to soothe your nervous system, your vagus nerve, and you need a relaxed nervous system in order to be able to digest your food properly. So that can be really helpful. You want to avoid overeating, but really if you're leaning into intermittent fasting or early time restricted eating, which is what I recommend, that means that you're eating no later than 6 p.m., but preferably even earlier, 3 or 4 p.m., then even overeating probably isn't going to produce a problem if you're eating healthy food. As I mentioned earlier with the alcohol, I suggest that you avoid the Fierce 5, what I refer to as the Fierce 5. If you're not familiar with this, I talk about this in a lot of different places. These are the things that I have found to cause digestive issues for most of the women that I work with. Are they 100% a problem for you? I can't tell you that without running specific and honestly fairly costly tests, but I can assure you that limiting the amount that you're consuming of these Fierce 5 ingredients is not going to hurt you. So the Fierce 5 is dairy, gluten, yeast, sugar, and alcohol. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics for the Fierce 5, but if you want to understand more about why I focus on these, you're going to want to look for videos related to digestion on my channel. In fact, the Harvard Chan School of Public Health focused on healthy longevity, and they emphasize the importance of focusing not just on lifespan, but also on health span. So we don't want to just live more years, we want to live those years in good health. And in order to do that, we need to focus on eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, maintaining a healthy weight, avoiding smoking, and consuming alcohol in moderation. In fact, research shows that individuals practicing these habits can live up to 14 years longer, but more importantly, enjoy more years that are free from chronic diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular conditions, and cancer. And remember, when you're avoiding these other diseases, it's going to be much easier to avoid heaping on the medication. Additional factors for healthy longevity include maintaining a sense of purpose. So if you have retired, you're going to need to find things that you really enjoy doing. My mother-in-law, for example, when we call her, she says, well, I couldn't pick the phone up because I'm busy. She's bowling. She's on her homeowners association. They are always going to some social gathering in the neighborhood. They go out to see music events and plays. And so you want to really make sure that you're keeping yourself busy and that you're not just sitting in front of the TV vegging out for hours and hours on end. This really goes back to the importance of fostering these social connections and engaging in brain stimulating activities. And when you're more active and you've stimulated yourself during the day, it's going to make it easier to improve your sleep at night. And one of the ways that really helps with that as well is early time restricted eating and intermittent fasting. And so we talked about that just a moment ago. So when you couple all of these suggestions and put everything together, you're going to really reduce the risk of cognitive decline, inflammation, and this chronic illness. And at the same time, promote emotional well-being and physical vitality. As this article continues, it really highlights the challenges of sensory changes that happen as we age. And so, people find that they don't smell as well or they don't taste as well. And this changes their appetite and their ability to consume appropriate nutrition. And so some of the things that contribute to our senses essentially being muted as we age are medications that essentially are doing nerve damage. And so if you found that this is an issue for you, then you want to really go back to your prescribing physician and talk about it and see what you can do to reverse this trajectory that you're on. Some of the suggestions and strategies are to enhance food flavors. I wouldn't get too overboard with this though. If you spice things up too much for our kind of aging digestive system, it can be a little too spicy for us. And you really want to make sure that the food looks appealing and you want to lean into foods that you really enjoy, but you need to make foods that you enjoy in a way that's healthy and is going to provide you with the nutrient density that you need. So let's revisit this whole idea of social connections and how these social connections really help you stay mentally active. Remember, staying socially active and mentally engaged fosters emotional well-being. And emotional well-being, or what some refer to as emotional intelligence, really is going to reduce your loneliness. And we talked about loneliness a moment ago. This is one of the things that will really age you more quickly. And when you are engaging with other people and having conversations that are mentally stimulating, you're going to maintain this cognitive sharpness that's really required for happy, healthy aging. How do you build meaningful relationships? Well, Obviously, if you really enjoy spending time with your family, family gatherings can be helpful, but many of us live far from family now. So some of this can happen by just using technology, using video conferencing in particular. It's really helpful to see somebody eye to eye. But you can also do things like volunteer or join clubs, or like my mother in law, join a bowling league. Challenge your brain with activities like puzzles. In fact, she has always done the crossword puzzle. She does the crossword puzzle pretty much every day. And then learning new skills like what I shared with you. I'm learning or improving my Spanish skills. I took Spanish for several years in school, in junior high and high school, and even a year in college. And I know a lot of the vocabulary, but I could not carry on a conversation, and I'd like to be able to do that. So that's something that I want to put some more energy into. You can also read. Reading is really great to promote mental agility. I found that I wanted to get a Kindle so that I could just have a device that was only for reading, and I could take that to bed with me, and I could adjust it so that the light did not interfere with my brain's process of winding down for sleep. So a Kindle can be great. It also allows you to increase the font so you don't have to wear glasses to be able to see the screen. And for me, that's a big benefit, especially when I'm laying in bed. The glasses are uncomfortable. So if you put all of this together, you're going to want to participate in hobbies or group activities that really bring you joy and purpose in your daily life. This was an article from the Amada Senior Care, and it explores the profound impact of social engagement on seniors' ability to really maintain independent living and what's known as activities of daily living, ADLs. It emphasized that enhancing mental, emotional, and physical well-being were the keys to making this happen. Social interaction, they found, fosters cognitive resilience, mitigates depression and loneliness, and motivates seniors to maintain independence through daily routines. So this is one of the reasons why seniors tend to move into some sort of facility or community where many other seniors live, because they have a natural way to create some sort of social community with people more their age and more their mindset. But I will challenge you that if you're capable, maintaining relationships with younger people can keep you sort of mentally and physically young. And technological advancements like using video to connect, you may need those young people around you to work through some of these hiccups with the technology as you're learning to really use it comfortably. So seniors really have lots of options and innovative ways to connect and access support networks, including community programs and other initiatives that are really tailored to older adults. My father and his wife live in a community, and she just raves about the group fitness classes. They do pool exercise a couple of days a week. And in the winter, when the pool's not warm enough, they move inside. But she really has developed a lot of friends in the neighborhood participating in these classes. So don't be afraid to just get out there and try it. Even if you feel like maybe it's going to be a little beyond your capabilities, you'll get there, but you're never going to get there if you don't take the first step. The other thing that's really fun for a lot of people, especially women, is arts and crafts. And so some of these communities will have arts and crafts. If you don't live in a community where this is possible, then look for things that are in your local area. Most importantly, just plug in. And if you can, find intergenerational activities, because this is really going to help you further your social bonds and promote sort of a youthful approach to life. If you integrate social engagement into whatever your happy, healthy aging plan is, then you're going to make your life a whole lot easier getting there. And remember, when you enhance your quality of life, it's going to reduce your healthcare costs and help you maintain your autonomy. I can think of no worse fate than to live a long, unhealthy life. A woman in her 90s asked me recently if I could help her with skin issues. Honestly, her skin is a mess. And it's a long story, but she hasn't made it any better with her lifestyle and habits. I told her it would require that she make some lifestyle changes, to which she responded, "I'm not going to change at this age." I can tell you what I told her. There's a good chance that you and I will live past 100. A few months can reverse years of damage from chronic stress that's turned toxic. So this is just an example of one of the countless ways stress creates symptoms and other health issues, especially during midlife and beyond. I created a video that shows you how to eliminate symptoms naturally, so I'll make sure to link to it below this video. But make sure you hit subscribe too, because I share a lot of tips when it comes to dealing with stress that's become toxic. Relieving the nasty symptoms stress creates makes navigating through midlife a breeze. So the next point here I think that I want to share with you is what really is the most important point, and that is that you need to not suppress symptoms and really get on that slippery slope of starting to add on medications, even those over-the-counter medications that you're turning to regularly. You want to focus on getting to the root cause of health issues, and if you deal with them and you take this approach starting at an earlier age, then you're going to find that this is just the way you handle your health long term. But as I mentioned a moment ago, it's never too late. If you're in your 80s, 90s, or beyond, you can reverse a lot of damage with just a few months of concentrated effort. I will say, though, that if you're already on medications, you're going to need to get help from your prescribing physician, because those medications are going to need to be titrated, essentially reduce the dose as you make some of these lifestyle improvements. And what's the promise? The promise is vitality in aging. This is essentially a functional medicine approach, and it emphasizes identifying and addressing underlying imbalances. For me, I evaluate 12 categories of toxicity and the energetic imbalances that they're causing. And then we want to bring the body into balance so that we resolve whatever issues are presenting themselves right now, but that helps us to prevent other chronic conditions from materializing and enhances overall health. Focus on understanding the interconnectedness. This requires developing awareness. That's one of the things that we really focus on in my Wellness Warriors membership. When you really understand how everything is interconnected, how all these bodily systems are really dependent on each other, you can connect the dots to identify root causes of illness like poor nutrition, stress, toxins of some sort. And we do this rather than masking the symptoms. Remember, symptoms are clues, and if we suppress the symptoms or mask them with medication, whether that is natural medication or otherwise, then it's just driving it further into the body, creating more internal noise, and it makes it really hard to unravel this health mystery that's evolving. You want to make sure that you're strengthening the immune system with lifestyle changes that you're making. And some of the ways we do that is by really focusing on getting better sleep. And this may require that you make some changes to what we call sleep hygiene. And again, I mentioned it earlier, but you want to look for sleep and insomnia related videos on my channel. I talk a lot about that. Also, stress management, using all the tools in your tool chest to keep stress in check. And if you're finding that you just can't get your stress levels down and have them stay that way, unless there's some really legitimate reason why that's the case, then know that this clearly points to a toxicity related issue. And that means that we've got to get to the bottom of what kind of toxic buildup you've got going on. The other thing too is using targeted nutrition depending on what you've got going on. Do you need to eat more meat, increase your protein intake? Do you need to reduce your carbs? Do you need to eat more healthy carbs? Are you consuming the Fierce 5 and that's creating issues? So just, really thinking about your nutrition and how it fuels your body is just an important mindset shift. You also want to support mitochondrial health to improve energy production. And I do that with a number of different ways, including using some of the technology that I'm trained to use. But as our mitochondrial health improves, we're going to reduce the risk of chronic fatigue and even neurological conditions. There are also natural remedies and herbs that can support and strengthen mitochondrial health. These remedies focus on enhancing energy production, reducing oxidative stress, and promoting mitochondrial biogenesis, which is basically the creation of new mitochondria. One of those is rhodiola, and according to a 2022 research study published on PubMed, rhodiola enhances mitochondrial quality by reducing oxidative stress. And this really supports neuronal health through mechanisms like bioenergetics improvement. I use bioenergetics a lot. I want to read the energy that is flowing in your body. It also helps to promote brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, and that can be extremely important as well. Ashwagandha, I've got a whole video on ashwagandha, so if you're interested in looking into this, you can search for that on the channel. This was a different study in 2021, but it talked about how ashwagandha enhances mitochondrial biogenesis and supports ATP production. This led to improved physical performance and energy. Its antioxidants properties really protect mitochondria from damage. Ginseng's another one. This was a 2023 study published on PMC. Ginseng stabilizes mitochondrial membrane potential and improves the electron transport chain. That increases ATP production and it protects against oxidative stress as well. Turmeric, you may have heard of this one. A 2023 study found that the curcumin compound in turmeric reduces inflammation and oxidative stress while promoting mitochondrial biogenesis. It protects mitochondria from damage and enhances mitochondrial efficiency, so that's all good. We really want to make sure that we're managing inflammation and promoting detoxification. We want to reduce systemic inflammation by addressing dietary triggers. That's why I suggest that you eliminate the Fierce 5. You want to promote hormonal balance and reduce toxin exposure. This is important regardless of where you are on the aging spectrum. Supporting your natural detoxification processes requires that you make sure that you stay hydrated with high quality water, that you're eating antioxidant rich foods, and that you really do things to support your liver function. Again, if you're wanting to know more about what you can do to improve your liver health, I've got videos on my channel related to improving liver function, and those can be really helpful for you. Functional medicine is essentially a holistic approach that's focused on slowing down the aging process by addressing the root causes of health issues rather than just managing symptoms. It emphasizes that we are all individual and we've got to have a personalized plan that really fits with our lifestyle and our needs and the environment that we live in, the nutrition that we find satisfying. Like, really, all of these are going to work together to optimize bodily functions and promote vitality and longevity. It really is important to create a personalized dietary plan. This is the reason why Anybody who goes on one of my protocols never eat a meal plan for the week. And while that might make it easier for some people, especially initially, that's not what you're going to need long term. Long term, you need to find foods that are satisfying, that are healthy, and that really give you the nutrient diversity and density that you need. This is so critically important to really support your cellular health and to give your body what it needs to produce energy and maintain vitality. Some of the other things that people tend to turn to as they age are interventions like hormone replacement therapy. And I really caution against that. Anything that you are going to need to do essentially forever is not recommended. I call it jacking with our hormones, and I've got a whole video on the risks of HRT, so you can visit that before you comment here that you think HRT is great. Just know that there are things you can do that are preferable to turning to medication. And yes, hormone replacement therapy, even if it's bioidentical, is medication to help you deal with some of the unwanted side effects of aging. More importantly, you need to lean into managing stress and address the imbalances that are really stress related. These tend to be fatigue, weight gain, and even this cognitive decline. And all of these can be managed in natural ways without turning to hormone replacement therapy. We talked previously about really making sure that you're supporting your liver. You want to minimize the toxin exposure because this is creating cellular damage and it's speeding up the aging process. A healthy liver is something you're going to need until the last day on this planet. And so you want to make sure that you're taking care of your liver on a daily basis. Some of the other things that are worth mentioning here in this video are the lifestyle changes. And really, we've been talking about these lifestyle changes all the way through this video. But I want to share a couple of things that I tend to recommend specifically. And one of those is my MOLT method program. Now, MOLT is an acronym. M is for mindset, O is for order, L is for lifestyle, and T is for toxins. And in my Wellness Warriors membership, we focus on applying the MOLT method to really help us reverse the effects of chronic stress. And this is going to absolutely help us also reverse aging. If you want to minimize the toxicity in your life and enhance overall health and longevity, then you definitely want to learn to master stress. Reducing the toxicity, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but you want to eliminate all the toxins that you have some control over. So this means that you're going to use high quality air purifiers, you're going to use non-toxic cleaning supplies, and you're going to filter your water. I suggest a 3-stage reverse osmosis water filter, or if you have the ability to, consider installing a whole house high quality water filter. That will go a long way to really supporting your body's natural detoxification processes, keeping you hydrated in a healthy way. And then you want to also promote regular sweating. I do that with a home sauna. You can do that by breaking a sweat when you exercise, but sweating is one of the best ways to rid the body of toxicity. And then we want to regularly do what I recommend, and that is a reboot. I call it a human energy system reboot, and we just are going to take a 10-day period and really synthesize a lot of the habits that I found to work synergistically to allow our body to reboot and give it a little bit of a rest for a few days allow it to do some of the cleanup, the deferred maintenance that hasn't been taking place because of the toxic life and lifestyle that we live on a day-to-day basis. Honestly, we live in a very toxic world, and a lot of the toxicity that we come into contact with, we have no control over. This reboot also recommends incorporating restorative practices like mindfulness, really prioritizing sleep, and this physical activity I've been talking to you about here. It really works to rejuvenate the body and the mind, and honestly, the soul as well. And if your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. In my next video, I'll show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack.